Hey, hey, hey. Happy Wednesday. Come on in, pull up a chair. The Gaming Gang Dispatch is in the air. Howdy, 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 gang. Welcome once again to the Duct Tape Studios. I'm Jeff McAleer, your host, here at the Gaming Gang Dispatch, brought to you by thegaminggang.com, amazingly enough. Yes, I am the Grand Poobah of thegaminggang.com. I'm Jeff McAleer. Thanks for swinging on in to stop by tonight. Do want to point out tonight is Wednesday, November 10th, 2021. This is live stream 715. If you've never popped in to visit before, or if this is the first time you're watching the stream after the fact, let me point out, very, very casual, just hanging out, talking about the latest in tabletop gaming and taking a first look at a tabletop game. Tonight, we are going to take on the North Africa expansion to Tank Duel from GMT Games, as well as Tank Pack 1 for Tank Duel as well. So that is what's cooking tonight. It is a Wargame Wednesday. So we are going to be diving into that after the news. It's important for you to understand that we do the tabletop gaming news first around here. Then I usually pontificate about something for a few minutes, and then we jump on into the unboxing and first look. Do want to mention, if you like this video, by all means, please give it a quick thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and if you do subscribe, ding that bell. It'll not only let you know when the dispatch streams live here on YouTube, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday evenings at 7 p.m. Central. It'll also inform you when I upload other videos, such as my upcoming review of Starfinder Whispers of the Eclipse. This is part 3 of the Horizons of the Vast adventure path. So that will be up this weekend. So stay tuned for that. I got a couple of reviews, at least 2 of them that are going to hit this coming weekend as well. Also should mention, when you're not watching videos on the Gaming Gang channel, please visit thegaminggang.com for all the latest in gaming news, reviews, and a whole lot more. You know the drill. Get your geek on at thegaminggang.com. Of course, this is a live stream. So if you are watching live, that means chat is available. It's not on screen. It's one of the ways I keep some of the more unusual commenters at bay, but I do my best to pay attention to chat. So if you want to say howdy, maybe you got a question, a comment, by all means, please chime in. I will do my best to respond. So far tonight, Clint Gibson was first out the gate. John Vogel's with us. Disavowed 92 is here, as well as Omanal. Yes, Omanal is with us. In case you don't know, Omanal is actually one of the Gaming Gang's contributors doing reviews of role-playing games. Very nice. And actually, feel kind of bad because Omanal submitted a review to me, and it's something that has 2 books. And the review was just both books together, and I asked him, I need you to do them separate. Sorry. Because they are sold separately. So that's why we have to review them separately. I know it's a hassle, but I know Omanal can do it. It's not going to be that bad. All right. Anyway, some reason my voice is all crazy tonight. Uh, so I am a little salty this evening, and after the news, I'll discuss why. Not going to go into a whole lot of detail about it, and I do also have an announcement to make after the news as well. We'll do that first before I get into my reason for the saltiness. So let's jump on into the news because I got a good collection of news tonight. Soon arriving in stores from Alley Cat Games is Pier 18. Here's the latest. In Pier 18, you take on the role of a Victorian pier builder as you compete to create the country's greatest seaside pier. Using only 18 cards, you'll draft and position sections of pier, building your unique structure outwards to sea in an effort to score the most victory points. During a player's turn, they'll draft one of the cards from the center of the table and add this to their pier. This will make their pier larger, but depending on how they place it, can score them more or less points. The game ends when there are no cards left to draft, and players tally up their in-game scoring, the highest of that patron that round, and end-game points, a total of all icons scored, to determine who's the winner. Victory points are earned by meeting the needs of pier visitors and workers, as well as satisfying the demands of powerful patrons who will lend their support to one pier at the end of every round. You also choose a personal goal that you'll attempt to fulfill throughout the course of the game. After a number of rounds, the player with the most victory points wins the game and is crowned greatest pier builder of their generation. Pier 18 is for 2 or 3 players, ages 10 and up, plays in around 10 to 15 minutes. I do believe it is arriving in stores. This is coming from across the pond. This is actually coming from Europe. So international orders, I believe, are shipping right now. So it is going to arrive in stores carrying an MSRP of approximately $10.99 if exchange rates don't change. Moving right along, Renegade Game Studios has revealed a third title in their Crimes and Capers lineup. Here's the dope on, and the winner is Dead. Reimagine the Murder Mystery Party. You're a nominee for the 67th Annual Music Awards. Unfortunately, you won't be winning anything tonight. Marnie, our host, America's sweetheart pop star, is dead. We're asking that you remain in the green room for your safety. While there, try to open Marnie's purse to look for clues as to what went down at rehearsal that led to her murder. Crimes and Capers, and the winner is Dead, is a cooperative game where you and a group of friends will take on the roles of famous recording artists and work together to solve the mystery. No special skills or prior knowledge are required. Read social media posts and solve puzzles to unlock Marnie's purse, then figure out who murdered her. Solve the award show mystery. No special skills or prior knowledge are required. Combines the beloved classic of murder mystery parties with on-trend escape room-style puzzling. There's cooperative play. There's no reveal where a player discovers that they are the evildoer. Dress up as your character, focus on solving the mystery, or both. So what would be the point of going to somebody's house to not play the game, but you're going to dress as a character? I don't get that. Hey, I'm just here to hang out and cosplay at your house. I don't want to actually take part in this game that I'm dressed as a music star for. Crimes and Capers, and the winner is Dead, is for 4 to 6 players, ages 14 and up, plays in around 90 minutes, and it will carry an MSRP of $35 when it arrives in February. Wish I had more I could share with you. All that's out there right now is simply the cover of the box, cover artwork. Moving along, arriving this week from Osprey Games is The Silver Bayonet, a skirmish-level miniatures game from Joseph A. McCullough. Here's what I know. As the wars of Napoleon ravaged Europe, chaos and fear reign, and the darkness that once clung to the shadows has been emboldened. Supernatural creatures, vampires, werewolves, ghouls, and worse, take advantage of the havoc, striking out at isolated farms, villages, and even military units. Whether they're pursuing some master plan or simply reveling in their newfound freedom is unknown. Most people dismiss reports of these slaughters as the ravings of madmen or the lies of deserters, but a few know better. The Silver Bayonet is a skirmish wargame of gothic horror set during the Napoleonic Wars. Each player forms an elite band of monster hunters drawn from the ranks of one of the great powers. Riflemen, swordsmen, and engineers fight side by side with mystics, occultists, and even those few supernatural creatures that can be controlled or reasoned with enough to make common cause. The game can be played solo, cooperatively, or competitively, with players progressing through a series of interlinked adventures with their soldiers gaining experience and suffering grievous wounds, and their units triumphing or falling in the face of the shadows. It is a game of action and adventure where musket and saber meet tooth and claw. The 160-page hardcover of the Silver Bayonet is going to carry an MSRP of $35. I have no word on the PDF yet. I am kind of surprised. Usually by now, we have an idea of what the PDF price is because I think this comes out tomorrow. I'm pretty sure. I wanted to share some of the miniatures from Northwind because they look very cool. This sounds like this would be a fun game to jump into. I'll be very honest, I do not know if Osprey is sending along a review copy of this or not. I think they tend to like to send me their RPGs. But then again, I did get Stargrave. So I don't know. But I definitely really dig the minis here. In fact, they just showed like a Spectre. And it was funny because when I first saw the picture, I thought, wait a second, why are they putting an unpainted miniature in this photo? Then I look closer, and I'm like, oh, it's supposed to be like a ghost or a specter or something like that. Anyway, once again, this is going to arrive tomorrow in stores. I'll take a stab in the dark that we're looking at probably $25 on the PDF, because that's normally kind of how Osprey's pricing goes from their hardcovers to PDFs. All right, let's talk about some role-playing game news, because All Rolled Up is offering a second edition of the Cthulhu Hack RPG. It's up on Kickstarter. Here's the scoop. Cthulhu Hack is a role-playing game of investigative horror against a backdrop of H.P. Lovecraft's mythos. Cthulhu Hack focuses on simple, accessible rules and mechanics designed to emulate the slow spiral of self-destruction, which I am very familiar with, that dominates the original tales. Since 2016, the Cthulhu Hack has expanded into a line of supplements and adventures, many of them award-winning. 5 years on, this Kickstarter delves deeper into the dark universe of the Cthulhu mythos with a second edition. So what's new? More for investigators. Expanded archetypes to provide you with more options, like performers and sleuths, along with a tweak of the occupational skills and special abilities to create a breadth of character distinctiveness right from the start. There's a GM's guide, an expanded toolkit for the GM to take the world and play experience further, including occult grimoires, campaign frameworks, and random prompts to color or improvise scenes or whole investigations. Monsters and avatars get an upgrade with more details on their capabilities, perceived motivations, and the foolish humans who seek to summon, support, and worship them. You fools! There's a campaign framework embedded in the new edition that you can embrace, pick through for ideas, or set aside. Your game, your call, but it's there if you want it, challenging the investigators at every turn. All of the rules have been rewritten and refreshed to simplify the core book and enhance the rich horror gaming experience. Cthulhu Hack, 2nd edition, will be a 112-page A5 volume available in soft and hardcover, packed with content, scattered with illustrations, and complete with an update of the original Save Innsmouth Part 0 adventure. Get you going immediately. This project is nearing the 300% funding level. At least when I looked, it might have passed it by now. And you can reserve a copy of the new second edition of Cthulhu Hack in softcover for an $18 pledge, or you can grab the hardcover for a $34 pledge through November 28th. Expected delivery is next July. And that is on digital and physical, which I was a little surprised. But one thing I did notice is that the title of the game has changed. It's gone from The Cthulhu Hack to Cthulhu Hack. And I am strongly considering backing this Kickstarter. I really am. Although I do have to mention, shipping is extra. This is coming from, I believe, the UK is where this is being published. So we've got Cthulhu Hack 2E up for crowdfunding. So my final news piece, speaking of Kickstarter, a successful Kickstarter for Arcanomicon, Tales of Arcana 5E is now available in PDF. Here's the deets. Over 200 new playable races for 5th edition. The Tales of Arcana 5e race guide features over 200 playable races for use as player or non-player characters in your 5th edition campaigns. Inside, you're going to find over 200 new races, including vampires, ghosts, cyborgs, and elementals. Male and female illustration for each race, except the Slurn. Slurn must be gender neutral or something, I guess. Flying mechanics that don't restrict class options, instructions on how to modify races to create your own variant races, lore entries developing Arcana's history, cosmology, nations, and other tidbits that can be used as plot hooks to inspire your future campaigns. There's artist credit on the page where the artwork appears. It's like, my goodness, how dare they do that? Actually, funny thing is, like first edition AD&D, you almost always had the artist signed their line art. I don't know why we moved away from that. This guide is essential for story masters and players who wish to go beyond traditional races like humans, elves, and dwarves. With the races in these pages, you'll be able to reimagine your role-playing games and create weird, fantastical campaigns. Even if you have no desire to play 5e, this guide is a great resource for world building. Will you play as a forest-dwelling Sasquatch or tree squid? Swim the murky depths as a Grindalo or merfolk? Or perhaps entertain villagers as a toon or a clown? A toon? It's like, okay. Perhaps your story master will have you square off in combat with the foul-smelling Krampus. Happy holidays. Or a band of mischievous Kasaobake. There are races here that will resonate with traditional players as well as newer or younger players. Welcome, Arcanaut, to your next adventure. The 499-page PDF. Yes, you heard me right. 499 pages is available at Drive-Thru RPG for $25. Dun, dun, dun. So Homenel says, can we play Roger Rabbit now? Yes. You're playing as a toon. And 245 Trioxin has popped in to chat. Is that a puppet race on the cover? I have to say, I saw quite a bit of the artwork for this. Well, I saw a good number of images. I shouldn't say quite a bit. I mean, it's 500 pages long. I didn't see that much artwork. But some of it is kind of silly art. So very cartoonish. Sort of like, you know, like they're saying, oh, you could play as a toon. And yes, I would take a guess that those are rather cartoonish. And then other images are pretty straight up fantasy, like we're looking at right now. So, I know. So 245 Triax says, I would totally run a group of Muppets through the dungeons. Kevin Smith is with us as well. Good to see you, Kevin. Another of the Gaming Gang role-playing game contributors. All right, that is it for the news for tonight. I was just talking about Drive-Thru RPG. Do want to mention, of course, the Gaming Gang, thus the Dispatch, is affiliated with the One Bookshelf site. So if you are going to visit, say, Drive-Thru RPG, be sure to stop by thegaminggang.com first. Click on one of our banner ads. That way, if you happen to make a purchase, I get a very small portion of that sale. And all those nickels, dimes, and quarters really do go a long way to keeping thegaminggang.com around. And I know there are quite a few people who do use our affiliate links through the banners, and I really appreciate it. Thank you very much. Also, if you like this video, if you like what I do, if you like the channel, if you like thegaminggang.com, you can always buy me a cup of coffee or some soda by going over to paypal.me/thegaminggang. And we do have folks from time to time who make a small donation through there as well. Once again, very much appreciated. So we're going to jump into taking a look at the North Africa expansion for Tank Duel and Tank Pack 1 in just a few moments. But there were a couple of things I did want to tackle before we jump in there. If you follow me on Twitter, you already ran across this probably. But if you don't, as of January 1st, I will no longer be shooting Kickstarter previews at all. I know a lot of people think, they look at the Kickstarter videos I've done and they look at them as reviews. I refuse to call them reviews. That's why they don't get review scores, because it's not the finished product. I think a couple of times over the years, I actually gave a review score because what was in my hands and what I was showing was essentially, that was it. That was the finished product. Normally, it's not that case. So, as of January 1st, I'm done doing Kickstarters. And I do actually have some Daily Magic Games Kickstart. There's small games. In fact, we took a peek at it. We did a first look at them. I have to do my videos for those, and that'll probably be it, unless somebody contacts me before then, before January 1st. And, who knows? I doubt it. I don't get a lot of requests anymore for Kickstarter previews. For one, because I'm not a shill. And that's actually the reason why I'm not going to do any. Now, that doesn't mean I'm not going to share news pieces about Kickstarters I think are pretty cool, or they're from companies that have supported the Gaming Gang across the years. No, that's not it at all. I will certainly still share Kickstarter news. I'm just not going to do any previews because it's gotten to the point. There are so many people out there, and excuse my French, I don't give a shit if they sit there and tell you publicly they don't charge for Kickstarter videos. They charge for Kickstarter videos. I've had publishers tell me exactly what some outlets who publicly say they don't accept any money for Kickstarter videos, how much they charge, depending on what you want done. And that's fine. I don't care. It's no skin off my ass. I really don't care. But problem is, we've got so many people out there who are just, they are so in the pocket of these publishers because they're like, oh, well, I want to make sure I get more Kickstarter video money coming in. And as I had mentioned on Twitter, when I got started doing this, now I'm in my 12th year of covering the hobby, but I've been gaming since I was about 9 or 10. And when I first got into this with my best friend, Elliot Miller, there weren't too many outlets. I mean, you could pretty much have counted the outlets out there on two hands. And at that point, and for a few years, about 95% of the Kickstarter reviews or previews that basically tell you, hey, I like this, I don't, do you ever see Kickstarter videos where people go, you know what? It's not my bag, not my thing. It's all right. It's all right. Do you ever see videos like that? No, you don't. I will say I have had some Kickstarter preview copies come in and we've played them and we didn't like the game. So didn't shoot any video for them. Hey, and I'm the first to admit, I don't say, hey, I don't charge anything for the videos. I actually charge for advertising on the website and the videos included. I think that's another reason why I probably didn't get hundreds of Kickstarter video previews over the years. I think I've done 50 or so. Anyway, but back to the point I was going to make. So about 95% of your Kickstarter previews or reviews were legit. I mean, they were seriously legit. But now we have all these people who are now covering the hobby and they want to make careers out of it. Now they expect to be paid. If you followed the gaming gang, if you've followed me for just about any length of time, I don't make jack doing this. And it's all right. It's all right. Luckily, I've got those Wayne billions to fall back on. No. But it's gotten to the point where you got so many people out there, they would tell you that a steaming pile, a steaming turd, you got to get this. You got to get it for $1. And that's why I decided, you know what? I'm not doing it anymore. It's not as if I make tons and tons of money doing Kickstarter previews anyway. I think in a year, it probably pays for my hotel room at various conventions, 2 or 3 conventions. And I'm not talking like Crown Plaza at Gen Con. I'm talking, Super 8. Anyway, so JPF Falconer Honor is with us as Dice Tower Crowd Surfing Show hammers many Kickstarter projects. Yeah, but that's different. That it is not a video devoted to a single project. I don't think. I gotta be honest. I don't watch their videos. Don't. I think everybody knows this. I really don't watch anybody out there. I don't have time. But what I was going to say is my understanding is they talk about a variety of different projects out there. They're not devoting a video to previewing that Kickstarter project. And yes, we do know that there is a lot of junk out there. So, see, that's the other thing too. If you listen to all the reviewers out there, you would think every tabletop game is phenomenal. There was one, I'm not going to mention any names, but there was one outlet that's not around anymore, and they were famous for everything was fantastic. Every game they talked about was amazing and fantastic, and it's like, absolutely not. It's like there's some real crap out there. And I don't think that this outlet was doing it to be disingenuous. I don't think they had a lot of experience playing games. So I think that's why. Anyway, yes, Pinky has come down to make her presence known. I think she's yelling at the water. She likes to yell at the water. She likes to yell at the box. Luckily, she doesn't yell at me. Anyway, so that's all I wanted to point out is as of January 1st, I will no longer be doing any sort of Kickstarter videos. Once again, just going to share news in that. So Kevin says everything is the best, or at least all the children are above average. Don't get me started on that. Don't get me started on that. All right. So the other thing. So JPF asks, does that channel start with an M? No, they're gone. I don't even think they ever did video. I don't think they did. I think they wrapped up. And I mean, they were nice. I mean, they seemed like they were nice people. I'm just saying every game was fantastic. Oh, wow, this is great. You know what it reminded me of? And I'm sure everybody out there has seen Animal House. When Flounder what was his name? Steven Dorfman, I think. I'm pulling that out of the air. When Flounder's sitting there, he's like, this is gonna be great. It's like how they were. All right, second thing I wanted to say, and this is what I'm a little salty about. You thought I was salty about that. I'm not salty about that. I'm very happy, actually, that I'm like, you know what? I don't want to deal with it anymore. Because it's like everything's like, oh, Stephen First. Yes, thank you, Omanal. That was it. Where did I get Dorfman from? Anyway, I had somebody ask me what I thought of the announced G4 Dungeons and Dragons show and the cast. And the funny thing is, I had gotten a press release, a PR release about it. And I'm not going to really comment about that, but there is something I will say. And please listen to what I'm saying. Don't put words in my mouth, because I can't stand when I get a commenter who tells me, oh, you said this. And it's like, I did not say that. It's like, how about listening to the words coming out of my mouth? If you honestly think every game company out there cares about representation, you got another thing coming. Okay? And it goes with everybody. And we're not even just talking game companies. This is when you're watching advertisements on TV, you're like, all right, I see who you're catering to. Do you think those companies care? Absolutely not. They don't care, but they do care that you think they care. And I'll give you a great example. How many game companies out there, even now, have the BLM hashtag going? And that's all they've done, right? I've said it before, I'll say it again. Posting shit on social media changes nothing. Zero. You are not, and I know people watching, hanging out in chat, I know we're not talking about you, right? But you know what I'm talking about. You got these, do-gooders who all they do is sit around on social media retweeting stuff, and a lot of times they retweet stuff and make it like it's their original thought. So it's not really a retweet. It's just the same exact thing. Because you see that when you see something trending. You're like, wow, that is like verbatim, like 3 posts in a row from 3 different people. It's like the first time I saw it, it was clever. Not so clever anymore. So that's one thing I just want to point out. Because I know there are people out there who are upset where it's like, oh, well, like people like me, right? Old white dudes. I hear people talk about, oh, we're being forced out of the hobby. Oh, no, we're not. Not being forced out of the hobby. It's like, what are you, goofy? But I could see where these people feel that way because it's like suddenly they're not represented. It's like, well, yeah, we were represented for 40 years. What do you expect now? Come on. But all I'm saying is that don't buy into the high and mightiness of some of these companies out there. I'll give you another great example. And this is like role-playing game adventures. Seems like every adventure now has to have a same-sex couple in it. That's fine. Doesn't bother me. But the funny thing is, it's always like just like throwaway NPCs. It's never like real important critical NPCs to that adventure. It's just somebody the characters will encounter in a shop, and that'll be it. So now I'm not saying that there aren't game companies out there who really truly do believe in advancing social norms, right? That being more inclusive and being less colorblind. There are, but not all of them. And I can tell you this for a fact because you'll notice if you followed the gaming gang for a long time, there used to be companies that I would share news about, review games from, and you never hear me mention them now. And the reason why is some of them I had cocktails with their owner, the guy who ran it, and they said some crazy shit. It's like, because I'm easy to talk to. Or some companies I heard behind the scenes that they had harassed their employees and things like that. And it was like, oh, I'm done with you. And these companies are like, oh, well, oh, we're so woke. It's like bullshit. You're not. You're just saying that because you figure if you don't say it, you're going to lose money. So anyway, just pointing out, don't like this person who contacted me, we're all upset. They're like, it's like, what's with this non-binary white guy? I'm like, well, if they're non-binary, not a guy, right? They're like, oh, that's the only representation we're getting on this show. And I was like, thinking to myself, geez, you got too much time on your hands if you're upset about the cast of an actual play D&D show that's going to be on G4. Like, okay. All right. So Omenal says, I just want good mechanics, intriguing setting, and good artwork for escapism. Yeah. I mean, most people play games to escape the real world. Just take a break from the real world. Omenal said, I just wanted people to play RPGs, so I cannot think of ever turning anyone away unless they were disruptive or super rude or... Thankfully, I have never had to deal with this because, to be very honest, you already know that I don't actually get an opportunity to sit down as a player and have a player character. I'm always the GM. But I have heard some stories about like super pervy, creepy game masters. Oof, wouldn't want that. 245 tracks and said they had a local comic store they had to stop shopping at after I heard the owner and another customer on a racist rant. Yes. And I guarantee that comic shop on social media is all about, oh yeah, hey, oh, we're so woke. We're so woke around here. It's like, yeah, full of shit. It's just a scam. Anyway, so 245 says, luckily another comic store moved into the area a year later. And I wouldn't be surprised if there was a mass exodus over to that other comic shop. Ah, for crying out loud, I've been sitting here with the wrong date all this time. Ah, for crying out loud. I'm just going to turn that off. Jeez. Another thing where I was like, I knew I forgot something today. I was running around. Almost finished with my cardiovascular rehab. I only have 3 more sessions to go. But anyways, we'll just get rid of that little thing up. Get out of there. All right. Ready? We're going to jump on in because tonight I'm taking a peek at the North Africa expansion for Tank Duel. Once I can bring that up, there we go. It's from GMT Games. It's designed by Mike Bertolucci and Berticelli. Sorry, Mike. With artwork provided by Terry Leeds. The game itself is for 1 to 8 players, ages 14 and up. Plays in about an hour or more. Depends on how many people are playing. And I think essentially that's mainly it. Because it can go a lot longer than that. And this expansion does carry an MSRP of $70. We are also going to look at the Tank Pack number 1, which carries an MSRP of $38. So, going to pop on over to the other camera. Here we got Tank Duel, first expansion. Let's move that out of the way here. Let's get this open. Tank Duel North Africa takes GMT's acclaimed Tank Duel series to the heat, sand, and battles of the North African campaign of World War II. This expansion introduces new rules for dust, heat, haze, sandstorms, night fights, minefields, and more. Players can now bring British and Italian crews into battle, fighting against or alongside the feared German Afrika Korps. Tank Duel North Africa also includes scenarios to use the British and Italian armored fighting vehicles on the Mediterranean front. Every scenario included in this expansion is playable solitaire with the included Rabata rules. I reviewed Tank Duel and really, really think that this is an excellent game. It's a lot of fun. And if I could get this box open, we'll have a little fun here. So, Omanel says so you can pick up Frosthaven when it comes in, all 30 pounds. Yeah, once I finish up my rehab, I'll be allowed to do that, I guess. All right, so here we have the combined rules and playbook. So I believe we're just going to be looking at some expansion rules here. Talking about using the expansion, desert terrain sets, dust, blowing dust, vehicle dust, sandstorms, heat haze and fatigue. Got night combat. So we got recon, rate of fire, vehicles with multiple guns and small guns, open top vehicles, special ammo, anti-tank guns, infantry. I got to say, this is a really interesting card-driven game. It really is. So here's some additional Rabata rules for playing solitaire. New tanks by year. And our new scenarios. How many do we have? 10, looks like. No, 11. Now we got some designer notes as well. And the game credits. Keldon says, wait, a tank duel in Africa? Racist. Racist. Good to see you, Keldon. Thanks for popping on into chat. So there are the rules. We've got some counter sheets here. It looks like we've got 1.5. Might as well let's zoom on in. So we've got our little markers for our tanks, for our tank players. Vehicle dust, blowing dust, darkness, muzzle flash. So just dual-sided. So it doesn't look like there's really any difference between those. No, there are not. They're the same. Although, strangely enough, when you flip it over, it's upside down. It's kind of odd. Usually don't see that. All right, we've got some more informational counters here as well. So we've got our crew. Maybe a little closer look at this. So we've got our crew here. High explosive anti-heat rounds. Recon. Got our commanders. Got our drivers, leader. I should say loader, not leader. VPs. Got our gunners. Flip these over. Same thing. I don't remember if that's how the counters in Tank Duel were. They like you'd flip them like that. So you'd be flipping them vertically as opposed to horizontally. There we go. All right, then we've got our tanks. And I believe we got a bunch. We do. So before we dive into the tanks, let's take a look at the cards. Take a look at the cards first, because we have 2 new decks of these. All right, let's grab ye old hobby knife. We got scenario cards, got battle cards. Got infantry cards for the various powers. Got some reference cards as well. Looks like we've got 2 of each. Here they come, infantry card. And we got a minefield card here. So here's the rub, though. Tank Duel's not available. It's not in print. It is up on the P500 right now. So if you have not played Tank Duel, if you don't already have it, you got to wait till this next print run comes out. And I think, if I remember correctly, I took a peek, and I think it's at 300 and some orders so far. So we've got our armored fighting vehicle cards. So these are our Russians, our British, and our Axis. And they are dual-sided. And we have 2 identical cards. So we have a pair of each. Disavow 92 says Tank Duel reminds them of Upfront and Wild Blue Yonder, 8th Air Force down in flames. A little bit. I agree with you on that. Upfront, I don't know. It's been so long since I played Upfront. That was a Kickstarter out of hell. We won't even get into that. But I remember playing the original. But I mean, we're talking years ago. I mean, I think I was still in high school when that came out. But yes, The Wild Blue Yonder, Down in Flames. I'm with you on that. All right, so then we've got anti-tank gun cards. Trying to remember if they, I don't think anti-tank guns were in the first one. So Disavow says, yeah, I got burned on the upfront Kickstarter. There were a lot of people who got burned on that. And not to rub salt in any wounds, but that was back in the day when we were doing podcasts. And I specifically said that I didn't think they actually had the rights to make the game. How were they doing a Kickstarter? And I said publicly, don't be shocked if you never see this, because I don't think it doesn't matter that they've got the designer on board. They don't own the rights to it. Hasbro owns the rights. And of course, on Board Game Geek, I was savaged. What the hell does this guy know? This guy doesn't know shit. Well, this guy knew better than some people. Yeah, but yeah, that was ridiculous. And it wasn't just up front. It was also Airborne in my pocket, or Airborne in your pocket. That, like, it was a dice game. All right, so here we've got our battle cards. So we've got different terrain. Sand, Hillcrest, Fire 7, Fire 8. Yeah, the mechanics of this game is really pretty interesting. The mechanics are really interesting to this game. I actually played a game against my nephew Cameron and his girlfriend, because she used to, when they were together, she used to play some games with us and that. And I couldn't believe she actually got into this. She thought this was just the coolest thing. So this about this Hasborg. Yes. Speaking of companies that, you know, oh yeah, we're all about diversity. Yeah, you're all about green. That's one color. I think that's the only color you're concerned with. Although I got no issue with them. They're always cool with me. Wizards of the Coast is always cool with me too. So JPF says at least they got Airborne in your pocket. Yes. Well, but that was through a different company, wasn't it? Wasn't that a different company that did that? All right, so we've got our movement. We got another terrain card. Some more terrain cards here. And the interesting thing is, like, we see these cards, Dawadi, like they're different cards though. Every card is different. So you see we've got the penetration modifier on the side here. It's different for all of them. We've got like the special case circles here, and that kind of determines like if tanks explode and things like that. They're all different for these too. So just because it's the same card title, they are different. Every card is unique. All right, so there we've got, these are the new decks that no doubt get mixed in. Probably replace some cards with your decks. For the battle cards there. Sweet. Very cool. I was very excited to see this. Especially with the North African front. All right, we'll get that out of the way. Now we're going to take a look at the tanks. And I'm actually going to zoom out a little bit. There you go. So you can actually see the entire tank. So here we got Axis. So it's a Panzer IV. And these are dual-sided. So you have a tank on each side. So we have 4 of these, which is also pretty cool too, because of course you're looking at it's a tank platoon, and of course you would all the most of the players are going to have probably the same model tanks. So I appreciate the fact that we have enough copies of it in order to do that. Okay. So we've got a couple of these. There we go. Now we start seeing the armored fighting vehicles. So if you are familiar, another game that this kind of reminds me of a little bit, not a ton, but a little bit, is B-17 Queen of the Skies. And it's mainly because of your crew members, having your crew members on the board, and then of course they can be wounded, they can be killed, they can gain experience and get better. They have different levels. So you've got like green and some like veteran and an elite. So we got those. So Disavowed says, yeah, they agree on B-17. This is just a really fun game, and it's also a very easy game to teach people how to play. It looks far more complex than it actually is. I think the most complex thing about it is doing some math. That's about it. So how many do we have here? I think, taking a guess, there were 8. Yeah, there were 8. So I think we've got another 8 here. So I think it's going to give us a grand total of 16 of these boards. And these boards are thick. These boards will hold up to play. It's not just some thin cardstock. So we got the cruiser. We've got the British Sherman. So I think we got 4 of those. Yep. All right. We got the M3 Grant. Got a couple. Yep, we do. Got a couple of those. The Matilda. This is where you play your terrain card. So if you have a terrain card, you drop the terrain card down here to show what terrain your tank is in. We got those, 2 of those, and then we've got a couple of Crusaders. And the Valentine. I got to be honest, I am not familiar with this tank. I've never heard of that. Duh. Sorry. All righty. I'm showing my ignorance. I'm not familiar with the Valentine Mark 8. What kind of gun does it have? Let's see. 6-pounder. Cool. Okay, so that's everything that we've got in the Tank Duel expansion. Now, let's take a look at what we've got in Tank Pack 1. So JPF says that's because the Valentine was a crap tank. That's why I've never heard of it. So we saw there was a little errata slip in here. So it says, in our zeal to get Tank Duel Tank Pack 1 into your hands, we neglected to include instructions on how to use these tank boards with Tank Duel Enemy in the crosshairs. That's funny. To use these tank boards with Tank Duel, assign each tank a unique ID number, 1 through 4, and mark each tank with an ID counter. Yeah, but that's normally how you play it. So tank ID counters are included in Tank Duel North Africa. thought I could have swore we had markers in the original game. Maybe I'm wrong. All right, so we get some special rules for these new tanks. We get some new scenarios. They look like these are desert scenarios too. Yeah, that's Tobruk, outside Tobruk. Okay, so that's actually Italy. Yeah, so it looks as if. Well, wait a second. Oh, then one of the last one's Kursk, or as many people pronounce it, Kursk. All right, let's see what we got. So we got the Panzer V, the Tiger, the good old Tiger. And we got a Panzer 3G. So we've got a couple of these. Panzer 4F1. And anti-tank gun. So a couple of those. All right, here we go. The Churchill. Hey, I at least heard of that tank. And the T-26S. There we go. Get some Russians in there. So we got a couple of these. We got the Stuart, the Honey, and the KV-1, and we should have two of these. So those are the tanks that we've got in the tank pack. So this had 8 boards, 16 tanks. So although, you know, they're not all different, but it does allow you a nice, good mix as far as all the various different tanks available. And if I remember correctly, I think the core game also has 32. So speaking of it being out of print and being available on the P500, do want to point out that you can score it on the P500. So we've got the 8 tank boards from the Tank Pack 1. Then we got the 16 tank boards from the North Africa expansion. Got a counter sheet and a half. I'm going to put that in there. As well as the new rules and playbook with 11 scenarios. And that is what we find when we take everything from Tank Duel, the North Africa expansion, plus the Tank Pack 1 outside the box, or in the Tank Packs situation, outside the bag. Let me swing on over to the other camera. And let's get rid of this with the wrong date again. Boy, I tell you. So, as I started to say, it's on P500. I think it's got 300 and some orders in. Now, with something that they're doing another print run on, I think they tend to go higher, but they won't actually start the reprint until it's probably 700, 800. But the game carries an MSRP of, if off the top of my head, I think it's $95. And I got to say, it is packed with gaming. There's a lot of gaming goodness packed in that core box. Especially if you like tank battles and you know, it's, if you haven't seen my review, check out my review. Although I get one, I think, die roll wrong or something, and somebody commented in the comment section, "Oh, you did this wrong." Okay. You got the gist of the game, didn't you? Anyway. It is a blast. It is awesome. So it carries usually an MSRP of $95. If I remember correctly, the P500 price is $59. And for Tank Duel, that is a steal. If you've got any interest in tank battles during World War II, you definitely want to pick it up. I assume we've got more expansions on the horizon. I am not positive. I'm not always right on top of everything in the P500 list, but I wouldn't be shocked if we start seeing at some point maybe some Japanese. I think that'd be cool. I think that'd be super cool to have, like jungle terrain and stuff like that. I think that'd be awesome. All right. So that is it for tonight's show. I honestly thought that this was running way longer than it did. It's right, an hour, 6 minutes. I was like, oh, I'm thinking, oh my gosh, it's probably like 8:30 my time. And I glanced down. I'm like, oh, it's only 6 minutes after. Omanal says that Tank Duel seems pretty interesting. It is. It is very cool. Omanal says, surprised they wouldn't do a Cold War set. I don't know. I'm sure that, to be honest, the mechanics, you could utilize them. Korea, Vietnam, all of that. It's just actually processing all those cards, creating all those cards, statting up all those tanks. But yeah, I could see them doing a hypothetical, 1985, right? Yep, West Germany being invaded. That's like the scenario for hundreds of war games out there. So Disavowed 92 says Tank Duel is a very versatile rule set. Yes. And once again, it's not difficult to learn how to play. Like I said, I really highly recommend it. It is very, very cool. And we just saw it. Now we got a load more tanks. Plus now we got desert rules and desert terrain cards and things like that. Once again, this expansion, the North Africa expansion for Tank Duel, does carry an MSRP of $70. And the Tank Pack 1 carries an MSRP of $38. Whenever I'm showing you anything from GMT, if you have any interest, don't wait. If you want to pick it up now, because as we pointed out before, GMT does not do huge print runs. That's why if something's really hot, it's gone like that. And then you got to wait around a year or two for another print run. This about says, just like Command and Colors is very versatile. Yeah, I mean, there's science fiction games based on the CNC series. You got the Japanese samurai battles. So we've got that. We've got Napoleonics. We've got Ancients. We've got Medieval. Napoleonics. There's tons of sets for the Napoleonics as well. There's a lot of Ancient sets too. So, all right. As I was saying, that is pretty much it for tonight's show. One other thing I do want to mention before I wrap up is I'm still in the midst of reaching out to companies for January's Old School for the new year. And it looks as if we're going to be able to take a look at some Castles and Crusades, as well as I heard back from Ben over at, gosh, now off the top of my head, I can't think the company's name. They do Five Torches Deep. So I think we're going to take a look at some of that stuff. One of the weird things is a lot of these OSR publishers, some of them don't even have websites. Their website is effectively Drive-Thru RPG. Maybe they've got an account on Twitter that you can kind of like tag them to maybe have them respond. That's very, very weird. I also found it kind of unusual that it seems like a lot of them are over in the UK. So, don't know. All righty. So if you like this video, by all means, please give it a quick thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Yeah, I know. There's that stupid wrong date again. Of course. If you subscribe, don't forget, ding that bell, because dinging that bell is going to let you know when the Dispatch streams live. Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday evenings right here on YouTube at 7 p.m. Central. It's also going to let you know when I upload other videos as well. So my upcoming review of, as the little errata slip goes flying, Starfighter Whispers of the Eclipse from Paizo Inc. This is chapter 3 in the Horizons of the Vast Adventure Path. All right. I will be back on Monday. I think next week we're going to do some reviews. And then on Wednesday, we'll do another War Game Wednesday because we're going to take a look at Absolute War from GMT Games. And this is an Eastern Front game. So we're going to dive into this. And it looks like it's a little lower complexity, too. I think. Yes. I was looking at the solitaire suitability. I'm like, whoa, that's super high. Maybe it is more complex than I thought. But no, that was the solitaire suitability. So this is what we'll be taking a look at next Wednesday for a War Game Wednesday. But Monday and Tuesday, I think I'm going to do some reviews. I think I'll do a review on each show. Off the top of my head, I don't know what they'll be. They'll be board games, I'll tell you that. Right off the bat, they will be board game reviews because I've been focusing a little too much on role-playing games, which I love. I love my role-playing games. And it's been kind of tough to get a lot of gaming in as of late. But I do have some stuff that I can pop out reviews for. Russell Higgins is popping on in. Good to see you, Russell. Thanks for swinging on in, saying hello before we wrap up. All right. Everybody enjoy the rest of your week. Have a great weekend. As I mentioned, I'll be back on Monday. Knock on wood. And until I see you next time, here's hoping each. And, well, I guess I should say, don't forget when you're not watching videos on the Gaming Gang channel, be sure to visit gaminggang.com for all the latest in gaming news, reviews, and a whole lot more. Mr. Eddie T is with us. Mike Anthony has joined us. Good to see everybody. So Mr. Eddie T says it's good to change it up a little with a good board game. Yeah, it's just I've got board games that I need to review. And there are some that I can review. We've played them enough times now. It's just, it's been slow, kind of a slog to get through some of this, simply because we haven't been getting together as often as we usually had in the past. Anyway, for those of you who watch live, thank you very much. Those of you who took some time out to take part in chat, also appreciate that because you're keeping me company while I'm pontificating and just blabbering on. But of course, I know there are a lot of people out there who don't have an opportunity to watch live. Thank you very much as well. Even if you're watching on Memorex, it all counts. I definitely appreciate it. All right. Anyway, as I started to say, everybody enjoy the rest of your week. Have a great weekend. I'll be back on Monday. And of course, until then, here's hoping each and every one of you gets to enjoy some great gaming with your gang. See you Monday. Oh, you're still here. Well, while you're kicking it, how about subscribing to the Gaming Gang channel or seeing the latest episode of the Gaming Gang Dispatch or finding out what YouTube recommends you check out here at my channel. And of course, don't forget, get your geek on at thegaminggang.com.